This is a book review of Dceased Unkillables. It's part of a series of Dceased books, and here's the first volume. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That's the heroes. In this case, it's the villains, the super villains. And it's got a number of super villains. It's got Vandal Savage, it's Bane, got Deathstroke, etc. So there's a variety of them. And, well, you can see some of your favourite villains on there. And some obviously do well, some not so well in the story, and it's very, very good. And of course there's also some heroes involved as well, and then the sort of lines about whether they're heroes or villains at this point when the world is ending sort of gets very, very blurred. And it's 144 pages, obviously from DC, and just come out, so it's obviously. So let's have a quick. Actually, the writing in this is very odd. It's actually very hard to read. It actually came out in August, obviously 2020, so it's a few months old. But the writing, and I'm just going to show you obviously because it's got all the credits there, so you can see all the credits. It's a bit rough the way they've done it, obviously purposely so. I mean, obviously they want to create it like a zombie sort of Dawn of the Dead, Land of the Dead, something got Deceased, done like a movie poster. Actually, this would be great as a movie poster. And of course, there is a series of posters available, Deceased set. I haven't bought that, but so I can't say what that's like. And so I'm just going to quickly get onto the book. Obviously, it's fully coloured all the way through, 144 pages, and you've got some black and white at the back. Obviously, the bonus material, there's about 10 or so pages, or a few more than that, of bonus material. This book is The Villains. So the previous book, the Deceased one, the first one, was the heroes. We've still got some heroes, but there's heroes that sort of become like villains-ish, and there's got villains who sort of become like heroes. They suddenly, because they end up meeting other people and so thrown into a situation, they end up sort of becoming more like the heroes of the story, because they end up with these kids, they start bonding with the kids as well, and that's really quite nice. And heroes, and obviously you've got the daughters, mothers, etc., and there's the relationships between them, and that's really well done. Now there's Deathstroke is the first bit. You suddenly, right at the start, you've got this great, lovely, superb art all the way through. The artwork is excellent all the way through. You've got Deathstroke suddenly realises there's a problem. There's obviously the usual world is no longer there, and obviously the world is falling apart. But luckily, someone comes through that helps him. And now I'm not going to say who comes through and helps him, because that would ruin it. And there's really good character in this. But it's the central character that actually is brilliant, and at the same time causes a lot of the problems. Of course, as always in all these zombie dramas, the real problem, not the zombies, never been the zombies. I always get quite slightly miffed off when people go, zombie dramas, but no, zombie dramas are nothing to do with zombies. It's about humanity, how we handle ourselves and the problems that we create for ourselves, how we bond with other people, how the relationships, what we do, the stupid things that we do in our world. So that's always been the case in all zombie productions. Zombies, I'm never remotely interested in the zombies. Actually, the stories to me are and that's where you've got this great team. Now, I just had to quickly check that page to make certain I do not show the character that I'm talking about, in terms of the one character that's key to the whole story. Now, obviously, they're all brought together by Vandal Savage on this island. And you've obviously got the heroes, you've got a variety of different heroes, the ones left over from the Batman family. But you've got Bane, you've got Deadshot, who I must admit, the greatest marksman on the planet. Apparently. Captain Cold freezes things. Now I love the way they put things. The Creeper, able to heal from any wound, etc. Cheetah, obviously characters all like from obviously previous, like Flash, of course, Wonder Woman, etc. So you've got those characters. They all come together with, of course, the heroes, and I think it's just really quite good. And you've got the great bits with the heroes when they're on they've got their Batmobile, and he uses a certain character on the front of the Batmobile, which is really well done, even though, of course, it's very childish. But you're in the middle of an apocalypse. Who's going to argue? But it's great when they've got all these initial scenes. Obviously, they have to get into this place to a single building. Survivors inside, trapped. Now, the first book is clearly at the same time as the heroes are still on the earth. Then afterwards, it's basically the heroes have gone, except the ones, of course, that are still obviously still alive, but in a zombie form. And they're troublesome because because they're the really super, super powerful ones. And they're the ones you do not want to have. And I'm not saying the characters. However, lots of conflicts in this, and there's some great scenes with, and let's see if I can show, I think I can show that bit. No, I can't show that. It's actually I really don't want to show bits because it's just going to spoil the story in every way. But I just can say this is just absolutely, this is one book I don't want to show too much of the story in any form, because there's got to be some surprises in it. And there are lots of surprises, backwards and forwards. The characters, people you think will survive, don't. People that you think will be obviously killed straight away, do quite well. And it's really quite, well, reasonably, like in any of these stories, you think, oh, that character's going to survive, and then too late, something happens, they have to be killed or whatever. So that's quite good. And there's some dramatic, lots of fight scenes all the way through this. Some quite gruesome battles, especially on like battles when they're like whole heaps of bodies and they're sort of fighting away, struggling for the last minutes of the scene. So it's very 144 pages. There's probably 130 pages of great story in this, and I think it's absolutely fine. There's some lovely scenes with very violent scenes, and that's why obviously I don't want to show it because it will spoil it. And there's some big surprises all the way through, and there is a mega big surprise at the end, in the last, obviously the book, in the thing, obviously, and again, I'm definitely not going to say who that is. So, after all that, what a book! Absolutely, I thoroughly enjoyed that story. Really did. It's a real, and it's great to see the villains used in this. And obviously, I'm just quickly showing some examples at the back. These are some of the characters. Obviously, now doesn't mean that they are turned into zombies or anything. It's just this, obviously these posters are just purely for sort of showing your favourite characters as like in the zombie-like form. And you've got some, obviously some of the covers here, promotional art, etc. at the back, as well as some Red Hood designs, and also some lovely, brilliant, unkillable coverings. Just superb, absolutely super sharp inking work there. And I just loved it. Absolutely loved the artwork. Artwork was great. Story was great. I love zombie dramas, so if you're into zombies, I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed the Marvel Zombies, but after reading this, I have to say Marvel Zombies 1 is not half as good as this. This is much better and actually more sensibly done, in the sense that, because it did bug me. Actually, I mean, I'd even before I got this, that it always bugged me that the fact that where were the villains in the Marvel Zombies characters? They really didn't go for that. So it was more obviously Wolverine, it was Spider-Man, Iron Man, etc. And there was a more comedic element to it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with a zombie comedy drama. I've seen many a film that's been played totally for love. Shaun of the Dead comes to mind. Love that film. And so on. And Brazilian ones and Mexican ones that I've thoroughly enjoyed that are just so quirky, or Train to Busan or something. Or From Busan, whatever it is. Absolutely brilliant. I haven't watched the second one. I must look at that at some point. So you've got this really the end of the DC universe as we know it, and I think it's absolutely good. I am really looking forward to and apparently it comes out, I think April time. I've already pre-ordered it. Can't wait for getting that. So that'd be good. That's 220 odd pages, that one. So hopefully it's a bit more. But because I've really felt this book could have done with a little bit more. It was one of those ones where it's just a bit too short, but still absolutely cracking base story. Great characters, and I loved it. I have to say though, Immortal Mastermind Vandal Savage is the unlikely guardians of the last lives on the planet. Well, yeah, I've never been a fan. I must admit, Vandal Savage is never a character that really did much for me. But that's the thing. So that's obviously the villains, and that's the book. I totally recommend it. Absolutely. My apologies for not showing many of the pages, etc. I know people love to see all the artwork inside, but it doesn't spoil it, because there's certain characters that turn up. You want to be a surprise. And I don't think he mentions on the back any of the characters. So that's the key thing. So, brilliant book.